The People's Democratic Party, PDP, is criticizing the Tinubu government over the increase in petrol price, says it is an assault on Nigerians. And the Nigerian Labour Congress NLC says it will be meeting with some of its members to agree on a proper response to government on the price of petrol and the right actions or response to take after it says it feels betrayed. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimale in Abuja. Let's tell you that the Vice President Kashim Shettima has met with and presided over the National Economic Council meeting at the State House in Abuja. The president of the Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, and the global philanthropist and co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Mr. B. Gates, were seen in attendance at that NEC meeting, which, well, some people will say it took place unusually on Wednesday and is holding against the traditional scheduled Thursday. The chairman of Dangote and Mr. Bill Gates were some of the dignitaries who attended the NEC meeting. Of course, governors and some members of the federal cabinet and ministers were also in attendance.
The establishment of state police was considered, and this was as a result of security challenges that we have across the nation: northeast, northwest, north central, southwest, southeast, south-south, so that we would have a robust security in our nation. And for that purpose, sometime in the past, NEC considered the establishment of state police and asked states to make submissions for consideration. Today, all the states were supposed to submit for consideration of the NEC. Incidentally, 4 states couldn't submit, and for that purpose, NEC decided that those states must make their submissions on or before Monday next week. Otherwise, whatever decision NEC takes on the establishment of state police will be binding on those states that refuse to submit, to make submissions.
Some of the outcomes from the National Economic Council meeting today, presided over by the Vice President Kashim Shettima. As that is going on, it's just a few hours before the African China Forum meeting, where the President Bola Tinubu has been attending and signing, putting his signatures on some deals. We've seen state governors like Babajide Sanwo-Olu, Uba Sani, and some ministers who are making effort at sealing deals for infrastructure projects in the state. We'll be getting more on that, of course, when that summit kicks off tomorrow. Well, our conversation tonight is being spoiled by the increase in the price of petrol. Now, Dangote yesterday has made a very huge announcement as to the production of PMS and how this will impact on the Nigerian economy. And he said, thank you, President Tinubu, but then there's so much more to decide, including the price of the product. Those are some of the communication coming from Mr. Aliko Dangote when the Dangote Refinery and Petrochemicals announced that they've got perhaps the purest of the brand of PMS that you can find around coming out of that Lagos-based refinery. But there seems to be trouble looming in the issue of the increase in the price of the product. Availability was a major problem. NNPCL came out in the weekend in about 2-paragraph or so statement that could not even explain anything at all. But beyond that, to say, oh, we have a problem Yes, there is a problem because they say they do not have the capacity to further bear the burden of paying for and bearing the burden of carrying the capacity of the operations and the logistics of the product. Then it's left the citizen in a quagmire. That the fact that price of the product will now go up. Don't forget, where we find ourselves today is as a result of the change in policy when President Bola Tinubu came into office and said subsidy is gone. That affected the bottom line. Over the last year, our economy, our currency has been battling to stay afloat. But tonight, we'll deal with all of these issues for you. But before we get into it, everyone, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
An Abuja High Court has declined the request by organizers of the End Bad Governance protesters to vacate an order which restricted them to the Moshood Abiola National Stadium in Abuja for the purpose of staging their protest. At the resumed proceedings, Justice Silvanus Origi had requested explanations from counsel to the FCT Minister George Ibrahim whether the suit still had life in view of the fact that the August 1st to 10th protest had come and gone. The vacation judge, however, opted to return the case file to the Chief Judge of the High Court for reassignment to a regular court for adjudication. The governor of Abia State, Alex Oti, has met with the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 general election, Mr. Peter Obi, and other members of the party in Umuahia, the state capital. Those at the meeting include the party's vice presidential candidate in the 2023 election, Dati Baba Ahmed, and Senator Victor Ume, representing Anambra Central, representatives of the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress, party's governorship candidate in Lagos and Imo states, Mr. Gbadebo Rhodesviver, and Senator Atan Achonu. Meanwhile, the Labour Party governorship candidate in the November 2023 governorship election in Imo State, Atan Achonu, has reacted to the recent Supreme Court judgments that validated the victory of Governor Hope Uzodinma. Addressing a press conference at his country home in Ehimembano local government area of Imo State, Mr. Achonu describes the judgment as disheartening, and he accuses the APC of manipulating election results, alleging that the APC gets full backing of the judiciary and INEC, which doesn't reflect the wishes of voters during the election.
It has also become painfully evident that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has become another arm of the ruling party, the APC, turning our entire democratic institution into a mere circus.
The Chairman Board of Trustees of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, ABGA, Mr. Chekwa Sokore, is asking the National Working Committee of the party to activate its disciplinary committee to sanction Governor Chukwuma Soludo of Anambra State and others for alleged anti-party activities. Mr. Okore warns that nobody within or outside the party would be allowed to destroy the party.
I strongly advise that the party's disciplinary measures must include but not limited to Professor Chukwuma Soludo. The sanctity of the supremacy of the political party in party democracies all over the world must be sustained and maintained.
To Rivers State, where gunmen have reportedly shot a security guard at the Action People's Party Secretariat in Port Harcourt. The attack, which was reportedly carried out at midnight, comes less than a month after the party secretariat in the new GRA area of Port Harcourt was bombed. The state chairman of the party, Sonny Wokekoro, while addressing journalists at the party secretariat, says details surrounding the shooting remain unclear.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's get to it, because this is some frank conversation tonight that we must have. Whoever that is being hit by the real conversation around the state of our country should seek redress. Be it NNPCL, be it the federal government, be it labor, be it the average citizen. We need to be telling ourselves some frank truth. It's an hour of truth. The Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, has demanded an immediate reversal of the hike in fuel price announced by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, saying the hike has worsened the misery of Nigerians amidst the lingering fuel scarcity in the country. The NNPCL increased the pump price of petrol from 568 to 855, now 897, depending on the location. This is per liter, of course. In condemning the move, in a statement, the NLC President Joe Ajero accused the federal government of betraying labor movement. Well, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has also come out today rejecting what they call the punishment on Nigerians and the increase in the pump price of fuel to over 1,000 naira per litre in various parts of the country, and describing it as a brutal assault on the sensibility and well-being of Nigerians by the insensitive and arrogant All Progressives Congress APC administration. Those are the words of the PDP. PDP went further to say the thoughtlessness the thought to increase fuel price, especially at this time, is a huge recipe for crisis, as Nigerians cannot bear its worsening effect on the suffocating economic hardship which they currently face under the President Bola Tinubu-led APC administration. What are the issues, everyone? Is it availability that's our problem? Is it operational issues? Is it politics, or what exactly? What are we suffering from? Or it's just that we could not pinch ourselves to reality to now live with what has become a hard truth? Let's get talking, everyone. I'm being joined tonight by a chieftain of the People's Democratic Party, Chief Segun Showumi, joins us live here in our Abuja studio. Thanks so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll also be getting some expert opinion from a former president of the Trade Union Congress, Comrade Peter Esele, who joins us virtually live from Lagos. It's good to see you, comrade.
For having me.
Thank you so much indeed. Well, I think I should begin virtually before coming back to the studio. Comrade, you are the expert here. And over the years, I know you and I have engaged in conversation around subsidy, around availability of petrol products. It does look like deja vu, isn't it? Because there are some things that you will say and you imagine to yourself that it seems as if I've said these things some years back. How appalled are you by what where we have found ourselves? Or what exactly, how do you assess the situation, Mr. Esele?
Well, I'm going to speak to the facts without emotions. First of all, let's look at what it costs to produce a liter of petrol. If you want to produce a liter of petrol, it's between 50 cents to 80 cents. And if you have to do that conversion, because all of this problem ties around the devaluation of our currency. And we all know that petrol, crude oil, they are all traded in dollars. So if it costs you between, let's use 50 cents as an example. And then let's say $1 to Naira is about 1,600. So if you use 50 cents to produce a liter of petrol, and then we look at it at 160. So what you have at the moment will be, it will cost about 800 Naira to produce a liter of petrol. And then if you add the other extra cost to it, you are going to have a landing cost taking you close to 1,000 Naira. So that, first of all, is what we need to know, that's the bottom line to why we are going to be having incessant price increase. So now a barrel of crude is about $74. So if you also multiply that by 1,600, it gives you about 118,000 Naira per barrel. So what do you do to bring down the price? That means you have to subsidize that price. You know, you and I have been talking about this over the years. And most times, I have always said the people that I'm most scared of are the economists, the lawyers, and the clergymen. Why am I saying about the economists? The economist tells you that we need to take away this subsidy, and then the country will become a Dorado. You and I know that is not possible. And then what you do in that instance is that when you now go ahead to start subsidizing it, economists will tell you that all things being equal. You and I know all things are never equal. There are certain factors and forces that are behind whatever we have to pay. So there is the political side of the economy. I call it the political economics of the economy. And then there is the economics of the economy. The economics of the economy cannot survive without the political economics of the economy. So what the federal government is trying to do is find that balance. And in finding that balance, life is also getting more difficult because there is no omnibus plan. By omnibus plan, I mean a synergy between the federal, the state, and the local government. So once we have all of that in place, it's going to be easy for people to move from one place to another. We all know that energy cost is the major pillar for inflation. Once you have a high energy cost, you are going to have inflation. So what we are going to face now, what we are facing right now, is that we have a high energy cost, we have a devaluation of our currency, and we are facing it's hydra-headed. So devaluation, subsidy removal, and these are the challenges we are going to face. And hopefully, I think I'm more hopeful now that before the end of the year, the federal government and NNPC refinery will also come on stream. So once we have availability, which means availability equals national energy security, which is very, very important. And then we can now look at the fact that we're no longer importing. That relaxes pressure on our FX. And then take you a step further is that it can also take away 5 to 10 naira of the pump price cost.
Okay, now, for any reasonable person or any mature mind as far as these issues are concerned, you will know, I'm saying maturity in the sense that you are able to take away emotions and also bring in your experience or your experience of how things operate in other climes. You look at the price in other climes that are similar, either neighboring countries or as far as the US or the UK, and you see how much of these does this commodity, or in fact in some other oil-producing countries, and you compare to us, you will discover that in the true sense of it, that we have enjoyed over the years a subsidized product given. Now, the fact that a lot of Nigerians find difficult to wrap their heads around is the manner in which the NNPCL has operated over the years. And in fact, what a lot of people will say, an unfair, untransparent, and well, I don't know how else to describe it, because NNPCL, for example, will tell you that refinery will be ready. The dates have been shifted over several months. It's not yet ready. We do not know what kind of voodoo it takes to repair the refinery. On another hand, NNPCL came over the weekend to tell Nigerians that, oh, we can no longer bear the burden. The presidency, through Bayo Onanuga, said we were not lying and there's no uncovering of anything. But anybody who knows will realize that there's no budget for subsidy. There is no provision of that in the PIA, but the fact remains that somebody is paying for that. But why does it look like Nigerians have been thrown in the dark for far too long, Mr. Esele?
Yeah, one of the challenge is, I would say, poor governance structure. So once you have poor governance structure, no matter how brilliant your ideas are, they are never going to work. Now, over the years, we've always been hearing about turnaround maintenance. I will tell you, this is the first time NNPC is actually doing what I call a proper turnaround maintenance. And then you know how Nigerian politicians work. They call Federal Executive Council and they tell you, we are going to do turnaround maintenance. $3 billion have been projected for that project to do turnaround maintenance. At the end of the day, they only approve, just like the Lagos-Ibadan Express Road, you know, it has taken almost 2 decades to complete. And then you find out that the turnaround maintenance they do, government goes ahead, release maybe $50 million, and they don't release any more fund. So for 20 years, one of the reasons why I told you earlier that I'm very optimistic that this refinery will come on stream is because this money is borrowed, is warehoused, and the payments are made according to milestones. What are the challenges NNPC are facing? You have a refinery that has not worked for about 20 years or more. And then right now they are going through some testing going on, and suddenly they discover another problem and they have to fix it. So they are having some challenges, but that's why I can say, yes, I'm more hopeful that this is going to come on based on what is happening there, and also based on the report I'm also getting about what is happening in that refinery. And then the other aspect is that you look at NNPC, it doesn't matter which party is in power. It doesn't matter. We had Obasanjo was in power from 1999. Obasanjo was there for 8 years. You have Yar'Adua, you have Jonathan. That was PDP administration. Now you have the APC. So it has to do with the governance structure. Is that you find out that at the time of Obasanjo was also our president, he was also the minister for petroleum. We also had that with Buhari. Now we also have it now. And you start asking yourself, the president is too busy and he will not have time for all of that. So the first thing we need to do is first, let's look at the governance structure. And you also made reference to other clients. If you are a worker and you are asked to pay 50% of your salary as taxes, you gladly pay when you know your children can benefit from free quality education and your transportation system is heavily subsidized, education, same. Now, that's why I keep referring to the omnibus plan. Our attention majorly in Nigeria is always on the federal government. We are not asking about what is the state government doing with their revenue. The devaluation have also substantially benefited the state government because what they get this money from is that they get it from FAC, it's in dollars, the conversion had to be done, and so the state governors get more money. Nobody is asking the state government. It's not responsible of federal government to provide local transportation. I live in Lagos, for example. It's not responsible of federal government to provide transportation for me to move from where I am to any other point. So that is why I keep emphasizing the Omnibus plan. So from the technical aspect that I've spoken to you about, I'm very optimistic that is going to come on. NNPC is going to have competition. Dangote Refinery is coming on. In another 2 years, we are going to have BOA also coming on stream. So the future for our energy availability and also to be able to take over provide energy for the entire West African coast is bright. I'm hopeful. But what I expect government to do before Nigerians get to that point is that they have to stay alive first. Is that there must be a plan between the federal, the state, and the local government on how to mitigate the various challenges facing the ordinary Nigerians.
Just give me some time, Mr. Estella. I'll come back to you because there are a few technical issues that I would like you to explain and dissect for us. Let me turn our attention to Chief Segun Showumi here with me in the studio. Your party has come out today and said this is an assault on Nigerians. Is that how your party sees it? Or that's how the situation is?
That's how all Nigerians see it. Sheung, in 2014, they managed to win an election that they then became in charge of the country by 2015. The price per liter was 97 naira. And as at 2012, they resisted vehemently that the Nigerians could not afford an increase. And as a feeling, right-thinking government, we backed down because you are not serving yourself, you are serving the citizens. Between 2015 to date, they have brought the price to, some would say 800 and something, some would say 900, some would say over 1,000. They make the most annoying excuse as though they sought our permission as Nigerians before they devalued our currency, making us now have a painful exchange rate of $1 to 1,600 naira.
At the parallel market.
At the parallel market. It's almost the same because they've liberalized it down, but there's no room for arbitrage. So they say, our currency has become the weakest in the sub-region, weaker than the CFA. And now they come to town and tell us that, okay, in 2023, before sitting down to understand what's in the books, subsidy is gone. If you recall, Sheung, at that time I said they would have been more clever to have said we're increasing the price because they are making a promise they won't be able to keep, since you are going to be dealing with a product that is dominated by Forex. And then they also kind of like liberalize it and all of that. Look, my friend is not right when he says the landing cost per refinery is 50 cents, is 700 or 800, and that's not correct.
In a global standard.
In a global standard, it's not correct. In the global standard, the cost of a barrel of crude now is about $73. From 1 barrel of crude, you will get about 159 liters of petrol. If you do the maths, and then you then ask yourself, do the refineries in America, are they paying salaries in Naira that you will now say the cost of, you know, what do you call it? The cost of labor is the same? You will tell me that your cost of taxes are the same, your excise duty is the same, the money you use to transport is the same, the Look, we can be deceiving ourselves that a nation, just like when the French Revolution was coming, that people can come and speak government out of the mess government has created without taking into cognizance the mood of the country, the pressure of the people, their ability to survive, and without taking also into serious cognizance the central role of these things on the life of the smallest person in the farm, on the villages, and the cost of transportation. The federal government is joking. And they had better do everybody in this country a favor, revert the numbers. Why? Because the federal government, the president cannot say, I am the Minister of Petroleum, and then he will sit on top that responsibility over and above the big responsibility of being president and be explaining to us in a manner that they should have ordinarily been impeached. Because you can't tell us that, see, the NNPC is saying they've been carrying a burden of $6 billion. Who authorized them to carry that? Who made the appropriation? Who gave them authority? Who appropriated it? Where did they get the right to do that?
But they were the
federal
sole
money.
importer.
That is besides the point. Federation's monies are not spent like that. They're saying now that they have to make appropriation, or they're going to give $3 billion to the federal account. That's the last thing they say. Look, Sheung, a nation is not run as if it's your private enterprise. There is separation in the government, and there is a National Assembly that is supposed to legislate and give you appropriation powers to do certain things.
But Mr. Shewumi, the NNPCL is the federal government saying that, look, we are not privy. The market forces are taking control. If the NNPCL says they've spent this money, but what we are hearing is, in fact, the availability problem was caused because NNPCL is owing to the tune of billions of dollars to those who have lifted, and that's why
you need to let me land.
And I'm saying
the presidency of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President Tinubu, with due respect, could not have said this nation is not paying subsidy, and then one entity under this federation that does not have powers to run as if it's on the moon, in Mars, or in Jupiter, will now come and tell us that, oh, we have been buying the fuel, and they are scared of using the word subsidizing it. Who appropriated that?
So invariably, they've been subsidizing.
They've not used the adjective subsidizing. They will have to come and tell us who gave them permission to appropriate our monies in that manner. One, how can you run the most important thing that carries our economy in such an opaque and a voodoo manner? And when we speak to these issues, with due respect, when we speak to these issues, we speak to these issues because the fact that they are in government does not mean they love the country more than those of us that are not in government. And they got a very small, very, very small number to come and run this country. Therefore, they don't even have the majority right to be running all of us into trouble. The cost of living of our people is very, very, very high. They can barely cope. Our unemployment figures are very, very high. They can barely make a living. You have just said you are going to pay civil servant 70,000 naira. We have not seen how that is going to be, matched by private sector. Those who are not even on the payroll still have to survive. At the same time, you have increased the cost of energy. People still have to survive. At the same time, they even have the temerity to say they are going to increase VAT by 10%. Let us just be clear. The last outing when people were going on, they were going to say they're going to shut down the country and all that, we pulled them back with all our strength and didn't join it because we felt that, okay, let's just manage that period. You cannot insult our sensibility with less than a month after such an event, and you are telling us now you are moving it to what? Who gave them the right to do that?
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
If you were the CEO of a private company,
which company is that?
No, I'm just giving an example. If you are a CEO of a private company, and the kind of statement that came from the NNPCL over the weekend, which a lot of people felt offended by, and in any case, coming out and unveiling to Nigerians what they have been doing that has become less transparent. What would you be doing to such the head or the leadership of such an entity?
There is, you see, I have wondered, except to maybe if they have some crooked underhand dealings that government is just allowing them to get away with. There is no reason why Mile should be sitting down on that chair.
I'm imagining
he has been in charge of
the National Assembly.
He has been in
just a moment. I'm asking you a question in the direction of where you are going.
Yeah.
That if Mr. Mele Kyari, who says he is in charge of a private entity that government has a stake in, is answerable to the private interest in a capitalist economy, what about the interest of the Nigerian people as represented by the National Assembly if this kind of thing is going on? Over the weekend and now, shouldn't any reasonable National Assembly representing the voices of the Nigerian people be calling Mr. Mele Kyari and everybody that is involved to question them and answer to Nigerians the question about these prices, isn't it?
Sheung, A serious National Assembly will not just be calling military, it's too small. A serious National Assembly will be calling the president, who doubles as the Minister of Petroleum, to come and answer charges. Appropriation is a very serious issue. One of the easiest ways to get yourself into impeachment is for you to abuse your responsibility and authority. Somebody has some explanation, some serious explaining to do. I ask you, is the NNPC, whether it is privatized or not, running our national asset of crude and all of that on its own whims and caprice? And is it spending the resources that it makes by the sales of our national asset on its whims and crasses? Who gave them the authority to be balancing up the books and the numbers? How come they could have told us that there's no subsidy, and they're coming out to tell us not only have there been subsidy, they're telling us we are even owing to the tune of almost $6 billion, and then to slap us in the face in a most annoying and unfeeling manner. They're telling us they're going to change the price just like that.
Hold on, Mr. Oshowomi. We're going to go on a break just in a moment, but I like to also balance this conversation because the presidency has been reacting about these subsidies that you're talking about. And this is what Mr. Bayo Onanuga said. He said, and I quote, "The Tinubu government did not lie about fuel subsidies. I have read a series of articles attacking the federal government for not telling the truth about fuel subsidy payments, following NNPCL Limited's admittance that it was owing suppliers some $6 billion US. The truth is that there is no discovery, no lie uncovered. The government has been faithful to its policy that it was no longer going to pay fuel subsidies since President Tinubu announced the deregulation of the PMS sector on the 29 May 2023. Since then, subsidy provisions have disappeared from the budget. It was not in the supplementary budget of 2023, not in the 2024 budget, and the amended 2024 budget. How do you react to that?
They're acting in a more annoying manner. It means that not only are they spending without appropriation, they're even spending money that nobody knows where they are getting it from. So when people say our oils are stolen, our oils are not made, we're not auditing it well, we don't know how much we've made, why would you be disappointed when the people that are in charge of the government have the temerity to be telling us that NNPC has been spending that much money on whose authority and by whose approval?
The presidency has said we do not know anything about it.
Really?
They say ask NNPCL.
That is an impeachable offense. The man doubles as the Minister of Petroleum.
But they said that it has been deregulated.
That your grandfather was a thief. Does that mean if your father steals a goat, they will not accuse him of being a thief? That was what happened then. This we're talking about now. I just told you the figures and how much we're selling it then. 97 naira. And how much are they telling us come and buy it today? Can the Nigerians even afford it? It's one thing for you to be running a for-profit country in the midst of people that get enough wages that they can get by. You want to run a for maximum profit country so that you can circle in money, share it to the states and local government without the commensurate ability to supervise and know what they are doing with the money, and the Nigerian citizen will be the one bleeding. They have something coming.
All right.
And they will be shocked at what will come at them.
Let's take a breather, everyone. But when we come back, more analysis for us to do. And of course, NLC is on the other hand. They're saying they're already meeting and cooking up plans on how to properly respond to the federal government in the pricing of petroleum products. But of course, there's a lot of explanation to be made in this regard. If you are not feeling it, I am feeling it.
I am feeling it.
We'll go on a break, everyone. When we come back, we'll talk more about this. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us on the program. Comrade Peter Esala is a former president of the Trade Union Congress. He's been speaking with us. He's got some very good long years of experience within the oil and gas and the energy sector. Thank you so much, Comrade Esala, for your time tonight. And I also have with me here in our studio, Chief Segun Showumi, a member of the People's Democratic Party. His party has been coming out saying that this is some of the part of what the PDP has said today. And I quote some of these sections of the statement, saying today, under the Tinubu-led administration, over 150 million Nigerians have sunk below poverty line. Businesses are collapsing daily as the naira now exchanged for over 1,600 naira to a dollar, with over 34% inflation rate and over 40% of unemployment rate, which are expected to rise further with the latest draconian increase in the price of fuel. There is practically no hope in sight under the current APC government policies as major multinational companies continue to exit our country in droves in the face of ill-conceived and ill-implemented macroeconomic policies. They went further to say the admission by the APC-led federal government that it has handed the fate of Nigerians to oil racketeers in the name of free market economy further validates the position of the PDP that the Tinubu-led administration has abdicated the primary purpose of government, which is to provide for the welfare and security of the citizens. President Tinubu is the Minister of Petroleum Resources and cannot exonerate his government and officials from the secretive and fraudulent management of the petroleum sector, which is fast pushing our nation's economy to the precipice. Moreover, it is inexplicable that the APC administration continues to increase fuel price despite the scandalous revelation in the public domain that it is secretly paying a whooping 5.4 trillion as fuel subsidy for 2024. Mr. Showme, is it fair to actually describe the situation in the manner in which your party has described it, considering the fact that if we say we leave this to market forces...
In 2014, the exchange rate was how much? It was $1, worst case 199, almost 200 naira. In the space of how many years are we drinking dollar as a source of survival? What are we buying extra that it is now in our country that the dollar is 1 to 160? Who presided over that economy? Even at the height of the Buhari regime, what was our exchange rate? Now, okay, the Dangote Refinery, which I've really commended him for even rescuing us as a people so that they can even say that black men can do things on their own. I've thanked him for that. The question you will ask is, who even gave the license? Was it not the PDP government of Jonathan? You see, without being political, you have to be a humanist. You have to look at the faces of your citizens, your cousins in the villages and in the far-flung corners of the country, and just imagine how they are coping even as of today. And you know for a fact that the price of these things will impact transportation. Transportation will impact cost of food. And you are dealing with... No, these guys are... No, with due respect, the language we chose was well weighed and conciliatory. It ought to have been hotter than that.
You mean what Debo Ologunagba wrote?
Oh, he wrote on our behalf, and we adopt everything he has said. It was very mild. If it was them, when Lai Mohammed used to sit on this chair, they used to remove smoke from their nose, ears, and head on simple things. And now they're in charge of the country. They've made everybody's life miserable. And we thought they had come to an end of it. They couldn't even give us the benefit of enjoying the fact that now we have local production in Dangote and our expectation will be something better. They had to come and kill everybody's joy on the same day. No, they have something coming. You know, NASA has told them there's going to be a call out. I'm sure it won't take long before Labour joins them. And by the grace of God Almighty, we will all empty into the street and ensure that go they will. If they will not listen appropriately, if they think that anybody is going to allow them...
Do you think that this government is not listening?
No, I think this government is sheer irresponsible and incompetent. Nobody has time for pussyfooting and powdering their face anymore. What do you think they are doing? Do you know what's going on in the country? Do you know how many lives have been lost as a result of their useless policies that doesn't make sense? What kind of person who calls himself an accountant would not know that a nation that is so export dependent, you got to manage your exchange rate, how by crook or by means, or whatever means? What kind of person comes onto a chair? He has not even looked at the books. He doesn't even know what is there. He doesn't say, it's gone, it's gone.
But the president had told Xi Jinping, the Chinese president, he is a reformer, that is trying to take a painful route in reforming the economy and the nation.
Thank you. For a man who's using our money to be buying new jets, for a man who's buying Escalades bulletproof, for a man who's spending money like he's going out of fashion, is that how Deng Xiaoping managed China before he got to Xi Jinping? Is that how China... He's not reforming anything, he's just wasting everybody's time and creating chaos. And he's trying to get national anger to get to a point, it will be a boiling point. Let me tell you, my dear friend, everywhere you have seen a tipping point where people have just said enough, it has always been one senseless government policy after the other, with their lackeys coming to say, oh, it's okay. You are forgetting that we're talking about human lives here. We're talking about people's hunger. We're talking about the cost of living of the Nigerian people. What is their excuse? You are telling us now that, oh, NNPCL that can say they are bringing a profit of, is it 3.7 trillion as their profit, at the same time, this is madness. This is sheer arrant madness. And we have been screaming about this NNPCL forever. I recall very vividly in 2019 when we were running the Atiku campaign and I was a spokesman. We kept saying it's time to unbundle this thing, it's time to make it private sector. Even at the pain of a lot of irritation, we said, you can't run such an organization in an opaque manner. How is Petrol bars run? How is the one that...
There are those who will listen to you and say, Segun Sowunmi is just talking because he's a member of the PDP.
No!
Would your party have done it better?
Oh, God. Don't be asking me this question because...
No, I would ask you because you're a politician.
Let me explain something.
And the fact remains that if you are criticizing the government today, the question is that do you have a solution?
Let me explain something to you. Even General Buhari, with all of the mouths that they make, was smart enough to know that you need to control the currency circulation to manage inflation by changing currency. What did they do? They are just a prolific set of people. They started running two currencies at the same time, pari passu. To what end and to what purpose? He managed the exchange rates and he was really tightening his belt and doing whatever. They came and said they are the expert. And now because they are expert, they will be living in plenty. And they will expect the citizens to empathize with them. If you want to run a transformational government, you start transforming it from your bloody side, from where you are seated. You can't be showing us that we have all the money in the world, you are playing anyhow, you are running a government of yourself and your children and your family, and you expect the Nigerian people to accept that?
But is that the true set of things?
Seun, when was the last time you ever saw that they were swearing in an attorney general and the child of the president is there in the place? Ask who? In what capacity?
Does that affect the economy?
So, you see, it's always one misdemeanor, one misbehavior, one inappropriate conduct that ends up becoming the culture of a government. Look at their government. The man told us that, I have a person there who used to be in NNPCL that will be evaluating them and bring key performance indicator and talk a lot of nonsense on television. After how many months, what have they been able to do? Who have they evaluated? If they had evaluated their minister, would they not have known that there's crisis there? What is the reason why the president has not fired himself as Minister of Petroleum? What is his explanation for why all this nonsense is going on in NNPC? Everything is just... Are we the only country that is making oil? Are we the only one selling it? People are not so much averse to, increasing the prices like that, but not in this manner.
I will let you go, Segun.
Thank you very much.
You said you're leaving. So
yeah, I am leaving.
That's why
I really don't need to run. But let me just put this. Look, we are all the owners of this country together. Those of us that scream and shout, it's because we love the country and we don't want anything untoward to happen either to the country or to the democracy. But you can't be poking your fingers in people's faces. Right. Or it will end up hitting the shit will hit the roof, so they say.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Seun, for having me here.
Chief Segun Sowunmi, a chieftain of the People's Democratic Party. Let me go back to Lagos virtually, of course, with Mr. Peter Esele. Now, the question is, good news, isn't it? And you will tell us whether it is or not. In the Dangote emergence into the realm, how much of joy can we express in the fact that now within the private sector, we've got a refinery that is that big?
First, before I go to your answer, I want to go back to what he was talking about. I told you I wasn't going to be emotive and I wasn't going to talk like a politician. First thing he said, a barrel has 159 liters, but it didn't tell you how much it will cost to produce a liter of petrol. So we have to stay on facts. If we want to be emotional, yes, I have been a labor leader, so I understand that. So you can be emotive without giving out facts. One of the reasons why you asked me to come here was, let's speak to the facts. First, is this where we think Nigeria should be? The answer is no. The answer is no. We should have energy self-sufficiency. So I now come to your issue of Dangote Refinery. Dangote Refinery is good news. It's good news. The good news is that we are going to have energy availability. The other side of it is that are we going to pay international market price because crude oil is priced in the dollar? The government says it's going to sell the crude oil to Dangote in Naira. But how are they going to price that Naira? Would that Naira be priced in dollars? If it's priced in dollars, then what I have told you is actually what it will cost to produce a liter of petrol. That's on one hand. On the other hand, Dangote had said it himself that the price of how much is going to be paid will be fixed by the president and the Federal Executive Council, which invariably means that it's not going to be driven by demand and supply, and it's not going to be driven by market forces. So subsidy is going to come in through the back door. And we've had series of language around subsidy. There is subsidy and there is subsidy. You know, the PDP chieftain made reference to how much it was 2014. But I'll take you back. In 2010, it was 148 naira to the dollar. How much were we paying before then for a liter of petrol? So what you've had is that there have been gradual increment. And over time, when I was president of TUC and Penderson, our suggestion to the government was, let's do a 10% or a 20% yearly increase. The government had challenge. The challenge they had was that people were abusing the subsidy. So if you go ahead and you abuse subsidy, and that is why we also had these challenges, this fuel hike we've had recently, it was not only a challenge of a product not being available, it was also product leaving the country. You know, and this is something we are not looking at. It's very easy for us to blame everybody. It's very easy for us to blame the government. You cannot get out a truckload of petrol out of Nigeria without the connivance of security agencies. It's not possible. So we also need to look at ourselves and say, are we sincere to ourselves? Do we love ourselves? And the other aspect is that why would a truck leave Nigeria without being tracked? I can track my car. Every truck in Nigeria can be tracked. But the fact is that nobody wants technology in the mix because technology will annihilate corruption from the system. So these are things that we also need to look at ourselves. Politicians are masters of being emotions, of throwing words around, but we need to ask ourselves, what have all of this done? We've had democratic dispensation from 1999 to date. Obasanjo was there for 8 years. No refineries worked. Yar'Adua was there for a couple of years. None of our refineries worked. Jonathan was there. None of our refineries worked. No refineries have been working. And Dangote is building his own. Dangote is coming up on stream. Probably that is what is also pushing NNPC, that is making NNPC say, okay, fine, September, it will come on stream. I don't think it will be happening in September. My take is that it will come in towards the ending of this year. That is my take about what is going to happen. We're going to have.
I don't know you to be a bearer of bad news. Dave said it's going to come. We need all to call out NNPCL if that refinery does not come on stream in September. Either they are not going to sleep until the end of September. That refinery should come up in September because they kept shifting the goalpost.
So I will gladly take you out for a dinner. If I would be very happy if it come on stream in September. I will be very happy, and I would call you that we should have a dinner. But my take is that I don't want to. It's not bearing bad news. It's just don't take people's hope. I prefer to speak below what is going to happen than to take it more than is necessary. You know, NNPC have told us, you and I have had even informal conversation. It was first it was going to happen in January. I told you it's not going to happen. Then later it was going to be second quarter, and here we are. So for me, my calculation is for the sake of my mental health and those around me, is I just said, why don't you just fix your mind towards November, December? But if it happened in September or September ending, I'm going to be very happy and I will send flowers to NNPC. But there are also fundamental challenges that goes with all of this coming up.
You know one thing that bothers me, Mr. Esale, is that when people say that we're a country where nothing happens, even when the worst situation happens to us. And I hate to hear it, that we're just a people who do not care when no consequences for people's bad behavior, especially when they have answers to give to the Nigerian people. It's sad,
so
isn't it?
If NNPC is telling us now that they are subsidizing PMS to the tune of $6 billion, so that, and the federal government says there is no subsidy. So for NNPC to do that as a private entity, that invariably tells you that there's poor governance structure, poor corporate governance. For you to owe a debt of up to $6 billion, then there's poor corporate governance. But we keep talking as if we are from Mars. And that's one thing I've learned over a decade of my existence as a Nigerian. Nothing works if you don't have a process, you don't have a system, you don't have the right culture, you don't have the right value. It's not going to work. Society is not driven by personality. Society is driven by culture and value. And I'm sorry to say this, none of the political parties in Nigeria right now have culture, neither do they have values. You don't know what they stand for.
Mr. Sala, you are the expert here. Just briefly, because I have one more question to ask you. And my biggest fear is when Labour react to all of this. But before you react to that statement, because the NLC said, we feel betrayed, and they gave their reasons. But before that, in terms of pricing, I imagine that when there is availability and when there is no transportation cost and transportation cost is being removed from the equation, especially the importation of crude, one we imagine that it will impact directly on the price of product locally in terms of the retailing. But AGO has been produced from the Dangote refinery, but the price of AGO is still the same. Is there a reason for that? Because I'm worried and I'm afraid when Mr. Dangote said that he's waiting for the president and the federal government to determine the price of petrol. And I'm imagining you are a private sector man. Why is it that the government has to determine the price anyways when he's the one is paying for the crude and he's going to be operating as a private citizen?
Because there's so many things that is underneath what we're looking at. So that invariably tells you when I talk about system, process, culture, and value. The foundation of any society is culture and value. So for a private sector to say he's waiting for the president to fix a price, that tells you that the value of free enterprise, the culture of free enterprise, the culture of market force economy is also being eroded. So that's one. So we must always factor that in, that we don't have a system. Somebody wakes up and tell you this is what is going to happen. And for this country to move forward, there must be respect. We must have culture, we must have value, and from that we'll have respect for rule of law. Once there is no rule of law, forget it. We will keep on moving, motion without movement. And then you talked about Labour going to react. Of course, Labour will react. But again, I also expect Labour to have anticipated this. Labour should have anticipated this. I will not expect Osifo to immediately issue a statement or Penkasi to issue a statement. This would have been anticipated. And I've always emphasized the need is not only talking about wages that we put at the end of the month. We must be able to look at what we do. If you tell somebody you want to pay him 200,000 naira as minimum wage, inflation is going to gallop the whole thing. What we need to do is healthcare, transportation. You subsidize all of that. There are so many ways we can get around this. But I don't want to talk like a politician and they come up and nobody's offering how to get Nigeria out of our current situation. That's a fundamental challenge that we are facing right now. Everybody is being emotive, but that's not what I'm looking at.
Mr. Peter Esele, thank you so much indeed for you've reacted and you've dealt with the Labour side of things. I have fear when Labour decide to weigh in on this matter, it could be harsher and it could be very fierce. But thank you so much indeed for your time tonight, Mr. Peter Esele, who is a former president of the Trade Union Congress. Well, that's our program for tonight, everyone. Yeah. But look, everyone, this is the moment where usually in other climes, and I hate to use that word when I say in other climes, but in other climes, what happens is that governments speak. Those who are responsible for some of these kind of issues, they will come to the fore and start explaining to Nigerians some of these issues. We cannot have government tongue-tied and lip-sealed when pricing of a major product that affects our economy is on the rise. NNPCL has an explanation to make, I dare say. Whether that's how we leave it tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm sure I'll see you tomorrow, God willing. God bless Nigeria.